We know they're making stuff up. So you'd have to go back to Paul and say, like, what version of Jesus fits here? And one of the things Paul says is that Jesus, according to their theology, the Philippians 2 theology, Jesus came from outer space. He's a being in outer space who serves God, descends, becomes incarnate, and dies, and then reascends and is exalted, and that's how everything else happens. But he says at one point that this Jesus surrendered everything. He submits himself to being a slave. Now, meaning not literally, he's not literally sold into service, but it's a reference to abrogating all his supernatural powers, because it says, like, he forewent his ability to be equal to God, basically. It says, like, he didn't claim equality to God, which is a reference to Satan trying to do so. Satan kept his supernatural powers, rebelled against God. Jesus is the anti-Satan. He's supposed to reverse Satan's story. Satan chose to try to claim to be equal to God, and that caused everything wrong in the world. Jesus humbled himself, refused to be equal to God, even unto death, and that allowed him to reverse and undo all the damage Satan did and so on. But the point being is that, according to Paul, Jesus was not a miracle worker. He abrogated all his supernatural powers during the incarnation. And that's why Paul never mentions Jesus as a miracle worker, never uses him as an example for healing or exorcism. He only talks about this being a new phenomenon in the church after his death, as this miracles, or the power to do these miracles, were bestowed upon the church after Jesus died. So it's a new thing. It's not something that Jesus did. So Jesus was probably not a miracle worker, even though if you look at, like, the realism of the healings and the exorcisms, and I say realism in the sense that they make sense in a placebo historic sense. What's being emulated there is not Jesus, but Christian missionaries. So Christian missionaries are doing these things, like they're doing the Benny Hinn routine, they're doing the exorcism routine. So what they do is they paint that onto Jesus as a model and justification for what they're doing. So that story, those stories don't come from Jesus. They come from Christian missionaries and how they want to assume their identity and define their identity by redefining what Jesus did. So I don't think we can support Jesus was, even a secular sense, miracle worker. I think at best he had to have been just a preacher, and almost certainly a rabbi. He was probably an educated rabbi. This idea that he was an illiterate dude from Nazareth is unrealistic, especially if he's talking about scripture. It's not like Luke has him divine. Like, people are amazed that he can read scripture and knows scripture, because an illiterate person can't do that. So for Luke, that's a miracle. It proves that Jesus is God. We know miracles don't exist. There's no way some hick from Nazareth could quote Torah and debate Mishnah law and oral law and so forth, or oral law with Pharisees and stuff. If Jesus is doing that, if Jesus is actually preaching stuff based on scripture and a good understanding of scripture, he was educated. So he had to have been a rabbi, probably an educated rabbi. Possibly, we know there's a Galilean sect. So if he did come from Galilee, he was probably a Galilean rabbi. And we know the Galileans didn't like the Pharisees, and they argued with each other all the time. Well, that fits type, right? So there's a lot of things you can do like this and try to reconstruct Jesus, but it's all speculation. We're assumption on top of assumption on top of assumption. I don't think it's accessible, really. We could just talk about what's more likely or less likely.
And that's mostly what I'm getting at, is that when people think about, there had to be a source of a person to this idea, or if they think about maybe it was just a really good person or something like that, I feel like people don't realize how little of the Jesus story would still apply there, even if it was based on one person, because it's like a lot of what we think we assign to Jesus isn't likely, even if it was a real person, because it's like those are there are political reasons and historical reasons why this aspect of Jesus was attributed to him, and like why this is part of his story. And it's like, oh, well, you can put that onto Horace or whoever else. So anyway, I just thought that was interesting.
That's right. And that's what leads to disagreements as to which things are made up and which things aren't. And so you get the zealot hypothesis people, you get the apocalyptic prophet people, and you get the rabbi people. And like, there's different advocates for different versions of the historical Jesus. I don't think we can tell the answer to this question, frankly. So.
All right, I'm done. I yield.
We'll have to have you back. We already actually, before, because we do need to start wrapping it up, but I do have one request to make. This is a little unusual. One of our new subscribers here did a super chat and has a request. It's his birthday today. His name is Michael Haxon, and he just wanted you to wish him a happy birthday, if you can do that. He said it would make his day if Dr. Carrier wished him a happy birthday.
Happy birthday, Michael Haxon.
Oh, we wish you a happy birthday, Michael?
Well, he didn't say anything about you. It was another $5
Happy birthday, Michael. No, happy birthday, Michael.
So,
no, sincerely.
Happy birthday, Michael.
Happy birthday, Michael. So we all did it. He got a lot out of that super chat. Somehow I don't think the rest of ours maybe mattered to him quite as much, but all right. So, well, we do have you tentatively scheduled reasonably soon to come back to discuss what you had mentioned earlier, because I think this is fascinating, the influence of Christianity on science. And I think now we've got like 6 other topics that we've had a lot of questions. I got like 20 questions from the live chat. Yeah. Just like we just haven't had a chance to get them all. We would definitely like to have you back to discuss that. We're going to put all of your particulars in the description, but just if you could remind people where they can find more information on you for the people who are interested.
Everything you can get through richardcarrier.info. So it's richardcarrier.info. You can find my Twitter feed, my Facebook feed, my blog. You can buy my books through there. I have recommendations of readings.